welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live Manchester United news, transfer news show and update show. Lots to talk about today. There's updates on, of course, Manchester United wanting a striker. I mean, we've known that for a very long time. I think we could guess that from Rasmus Højlund's performances. Oh, are we back? Are we back? Oh, this is hotel Wi-Fi. Hotel Wi-Fi. I don't know what the connection's like, guys. So please tell me we're back. Oh, what a start to the live stream. What a start to the live stream. This is what hotel Wi-Fi does. So I apologize if we do cut out at some point. But where was I? Oh, we need a striker. I mean, that's basically like saying the earth needs oxygen. Man United need a striker. But we do. And look, while I like Rasmus, and I think he's got potential, I don't think that potential is at Manchester United. I think he's anything that he showed in his first season, which was glimpses of potential, those UCL performances, they're just white from him. The things he did well in his first season, he can't even do in his second season. I think this guy, for his own good, he needs a new environment. And United sort of know that we need a new striker. They're looking at new strikers. And look, I like Delap. I think he's great. And I'm happy if we sign Delap. But I look at the striker that we need. It's not Delap. It's a Victor Osimhen. It's a Victor Gyökeres. We need, for me, I don't want another young striker. Delap, improvement, Højlund. But I think that United needs someone ready-made to lead the line. You know what we used to do under Ed Woodward that people didn't like? When we used to go and get Cavani on a free and give him big wages for 2 years. Or we went and got Ronaldo, where maybe we should have got Declan Rice because we needed a DM that summer. I think we're in a position where we need to take, and I don't like Ed Woodward. He was a knobhead. He was rubbish at his job. But the one thing I would do is take that and say, you know what? Can we bring in a big name, give them, a big chunk of money and get them to be our striker? Victor Osimhen, you can do that with. It wouldn't ever happen, but you could go and try for like Lewandowski, a Harry Kane if you wanted. I get why United wouldn't want to do that because of age. But I'm just thinking, just somebody, I don't care if they're 28, 29, somebody that's going to be striker for the next 2 years, just so that is sorted, and then we can help bring someone in long term for them to learn off. Because I think the striker market is so dead. Jin says, Alice, why do you like Rasmus? He's the worst striker we've had. He's the worst PL striker because of what he showed last season. 16 goals with no service. I thought that he showed elements last season of what he could do. I thought the Champions League game, he was good. And I think when you get him in the wide channels and he was running in front of people and confident, he was good. His all-round game has regressed, but he's still young. He's still raw. I think it just nothing works for him. Nothing comes off for him. That's why I like him. I don't want him starting for Man United again, but I think, if he went to Italy and got a new environment, he could be good. I think if he stays at Manchester United, he's just going to get worse. I think for his own good, he needs to leave this club. Delap is the perfect bench striker, though we need 2 strikers. I agree. Chelsea are looking at Delap, but Enzo Maresca really wants a box striker, and Delap I wouldn't say is a box striker. And I also looked at us. We were putting so many good balls into the box yesterday. We need box strikers, Victor Osimhen, not Delap. So do we want a box striker? Do we want someone that's going to drop deep and link the channels? Do we want someone that's going to run the wide channels? What do we want? Vlahovic, if his wages weren't ridiculous, is a good choice as well. But let's get into this. So we're going to talk about Fredriksson's debut and Amass's debut to begin with, and what Ruben Amorim has said on the youngsters. Will they be getting more minutes? I want to touch upon those stories to begin with. We're then going to talk about Manchester United urgently wanting a striker. They want to bring in a striker this summer. Højlund not being convincing, but there's reports coming out from Turkey, and there's 3 or 4 reports coming out from Turkey that MUFC MPB had shared. So go make sure you give them a follow on Twitter, and I think they have a YouTube channel as well, so do check that out, where they've revealed that Turkish sources saying there's an agreement between Manchester United and Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen would like to go to Manchester United. He's agreed terms with Manchester United. Now, this hasn't been said by Romano, Laurie Whitwell, or David Ornstein, so you do have to take it with a pinch of salt. But if Manchester United have agreed a deal with Osimhen, that means all we need to do now is agree a fee with Napoli, who were sort of desperate to offload him, although they're difficult to negotiate with. So if we've actually got these terms and got this agreement with Osimhen, all we need to do is go to Napoli and see that. The worry with Osimhen is I think he just wants the money. I think he would pick Saudi over Manchester United for the money, even though his dream was the Premier League 2 years ago. I don't know if he loves football like he used to love football. That's like my big question on it. So we're going to dive into that. United have looked at Sesko. I don't think we'll get him. Eze links. That's an interesting story. And apparently Garnacho is Napoli's priority, and Napoli willing to go all out for Garnacho. So, look, we're 5 minutes into this intro. There's a lot to talk about. So let's get into it. So let's talk about Tyler Fredrickson quickly. Ruben Amorim on Tyler Fredrickson. He's really composed. He's really humble. Every day in training, he with the first team, he's really focused on every detail of training. He's really good on the ball. It's a good opportunity for him. How impressed were you guys with Tyler Fredrickson yesterday? I was really, really impressed with what I saw from him. You know, Aiden Heaven's done well. Fredrickson's done well. Euro's looking good now. I'm actually quite happy with what we're seeing defensively from Manchester United. I feel like we have a mistake in us and we have a silly error in us. But I do think defensively we've improved since Ruben Amorim's come in. I just think going forward we've managed to get worse and regress. I think, you know, Fredrickson deserved probably a clean sheet. He did nothing wrong. It was a solid debut. He looked comfortable on the ball. He didn't look like he shouldn't be there. And I think as a youngster, when you make your debut, as long as you don't look like you shouldn't be there, that's kind of like a positive thing. It's like I didn't look at Fredrickson and think, oh, you know, he's young, he's raw, you know, don't blame him for that, don't blame him for this. It was like if I didn't watch Man United before, I wouldn't have thought that Fredrickson was an 18-year-old making his debut. I would have thought that he was just one of their solid players. You know, do you know what I mean? I think that is a sign of a very good debut. The player that impressed me the most was Harry Amass. He was man of the match. I thought he was fantastic, Harry Amass. Like when he won back that ball and did that work, which led to that Højlund chance where Højlund did really well. And I was like, yes, go on Højlund. And then I feel like that's that confidence. He just stutters with it at the end. But I do look at it, and this is what frustrates me. If we see Harry Amass come in and step up, we see Aiden Heaven come in and step up, we see Fredrickson come in and step up. You know, if we know Eriksen's going to leave and we know Lindelof's going to leave, why can't we chuck in a Morehouse over Eriksen? A Fletcher over Eriksen? Eriksen gave away the stupid free kick, which led to the Wolves goal, which was the only thing they did all game. That's the one thing. Look at Harry Amass, what he does. I just trust in our youth. Maxi Odelei is playing for Warsaw, and he was like the best player on the pitch versus Chelsea. You know, if we're having issues, rather than going and spending 30, 40 million on youngsters from other teams, why don't we use our own youngsters? And if they're not good enough, you still get their value up so you can sell them and actually spend our money on players over the age of 21. You know, I don't mind buying in a youngster if it was a Desiree Doué, a Lamine Yamal. If you see a youngster and you just know that he's a different level, Desiree Doué, Lamine Yamal, we're never going to get them. Do you know what I mean? But I don't want us to spend 30 million on a youngster, you know, that we don't know will be a different level. I don't want us to go through that model. I want experienced players because we've got our own youth. Shea Lacey, if he can stay fit, is one of the best talents in the country. Bentito Mantato suits the system and is phenomenal. He's just been unlucky with injuries this season. You know, we've got so many talented players. You know, Maxi Odelei would probably, right now, be getting minutes at United with his performance for Warsaw. He looked good in pre-season. You know, Toby Collier's obviously been injured. But again, I'd rather play the youth. And if the youth get 10, 15 games for Man United, you can still, rather than selling them for 800k, you can sell them for 10 million. And, you know, Ineos could look at it in that perspective. You know, because that's how Ineos will be looking at things as well. That's sort of my mindset on things. But look, I do want to get into the Victor Osimhen news. I do want to get into transfer news because I've got to be wrapped up by 11:30 UK time. So let's dive into a few more stories. So this was Ruben Amorim's comments after the game on, you know, Amass and Fredrickson and the youth. Ruben Amorim asked if there was a chance for Fredrickson and other United Academy players to stake a claim for a place in the squad next season. He said, that I don't know. The season is not over. What I felt today is they deserved a better memory of their first game. They both deserved the clean sheet. They both did really well. You know, I think Fredrickson looked better than Lindelof. And that's not because I call him Lindelof and have a Lindelof agenda, but I just think he did. Tyler played really well. Also, Harry Amass played really well, and they deserved better because we were the better team, played well, created chances. And we were. We should have won that game 1-0. If we had Victor Osimhen on that pitch with the balls that went into the box, we win that game 1-2-0. I tell you that now. But in the end, one opportunity for the opponent, they score, and the memories are not the best for these kids, but they played well. And I think Amorim is spot on with his comments. You know, they played well. They deserved a better memory from the game. They didn't get that. Do you know what I mean? That's what it was. Linda soft. He wasn't too soft though today. Eriksen giving away that silly free kick. I think we can shut them in, but I don't want to kill the kids week in, week out. It was Wolves at the end of the day. I think you've got to think about it of you don't want to throw kids into an unstable environment that's going to make it harder for them and is going to knock their confidence if they don't have the best game. But also, like, when you know that Eriksen's leaving and Jack Morehouse is a brilliant ball carrier and Amarin is asking for a ball carrier number 10, not a passer, I'm like, Jack Morehouse is 19, 20. He's not 15, 16. Just give him a go. Just give him a go. Look what happened with Kobbie Mainoo when we gave him a go. Look what happened with Alejandro Garnacho when we gave him a go. And I know he's not had the best season, Garnacho, but the last 5-6 games, he's been good. And I say this with Garnacho. Garnacho frustrates me. Garnacho frustrates me so much. And sometimes I watch him and he really pees me off and he really annoys me. And he probably winds me up more than any other Man United player. But I like Garnacho. And I think that there's a good player in Garnacho because when he gets the ball, at least he drives forward and wants to make something happen. He may shoot and it be a useless shot. He may miss big chances and he should have squared the ball to this player and that player here and there. But Garnacho is our most dangerous player in a weird way. Bruno, obviously, Ahmad, obviously. But when he gets the ball, he's always getting into these dangerous positions. And I think if someone put a bit of a brain on Garnacho and gave him Rashford or Bruno's ball striking, very good player there. Just needs to develop that. You know, Rasmus Højlund, I'm just not seeing anything from him, if I was going to be totally honest. Almac says, Maguire and De Ligt good, but they are slow, fast, mobile, playing centre-backs well. I have to play Highline. Do you know what? I like Maguire and De Ligt, but I feel like you can only play one or the other. Maguire central centre-back or De Ligt central centre-back. It's got to be one of those two, and Euro and Maz. I think Euro and Maz are our best wide centre-backs. I think Maguire's been great, but I think De Ligt is probably the better player. I would say play a central centre-back, that's Maguire with De Ligt, Euro left centre-back, Maz right centre-back, and then, of course, you know, when Aiden Evans back and Leach is back, they can be left centre-back. I don't like it when De Ligt's right centre-back and Maguire's central centre-back. I prefer them both, personally, in the middle. I do think if we keep Garnacho, he will be good next season. But Napoli have an interest. We have an interest in Victor Osimhen. We will talk about that. I can't see this. One sec. That's better. I'll put the glasses on. I can barely see you this morning. Maguire's like the perfect bench player he is. He is the perfect bench player. Maguire's what I think is good squad depth. Maguire, I like Maguire. He's a good player. He's not an £80 million player, but he's a solid player. He's a good player. You know, you don't have him in your best back three, but if someone's injured, he's a good player to step in. He's a good squad depth. That's how I describe Maguire. Good squad depth. Swap Rashford for Watkins. Look, Watkins definitely improves us, but I do think he's a bit overrated. He misses a lot of chances for Villa. He scores the hard ones, but he misses the easy ones. And I don't know, with us not creating chances, I want someone that's a little bit more involved in deeper play, personally. But yeah, let's continue on. You know, Watkins got dropped for Rashford at striker the last few games. Harry Amass made more ball recoveries, 7, than any other Manchester United player today against Wolves, was said by Statman Dave. And yeah, well, yesterday, because I just put that on today. But yeah, it was good. Harry Amass was good. Is Watkins too old? I mean, I would go with someone older than younger. Watkins, I think, is 28, is he? Or 29? 29. He's someone you'd maybe look at going for. Like, I'm not against signing Watkins, but there's better players out there, in my opinion. Would rather have Morgan Rogers, I agree. Morgan Rogers is the perfect 10 for Ruben Amorim's system. Honestly, Morgan Rogers fits Ruben Amorim's system to a T, which is a shame. Maguire, Shaw, Dalot, Eriksen, Lindelof, Evans, all should really go. Dalot is solid, but we can get decent money for him. I agree with what you're saying. I think if you can get, if someone bid 40 million for Dalot in the summer or 35 million for Dalot in the summer, you just take it. Like, Dalot is good. He's solid, but he's not naturally a wing back. And while I think he's looked, if you take out the Newcastle game, his last 5-6 games for United, he's been a lot better. I thought he was actually one of our best players versus Lyon. I don't think he's a long-term fit for the system. And when he's still got value, you have to look at it and say, should we sell him now before his value goes down maybe next season because he doesn't suit the system? Would you bring Rashford back? Yes and no. I would bring him back because right now he walks into our starting 11 and significantly improves us. And I have some concerns over Mason Mount being that left 10. But he has to go because of what's gone down with Amarin. So let's talk about the striker situation. Let's talk about the Victor Osimhen news. Let's talk about everything we need to know in regards to that. So you might be really shocked and surprised, but Manchester United's urgent priority this summer is a striker. That was said by Lutkers. Now, interestingly, I remember Lutkers reported, it was like the 25th or 26th or 27th of February, it was right at the end of February, that Manchester United coaches are losing patience with Rasmus Højlund and with his prolonged goal drought. And at that point in time, he'd gone 17 games without a goal, which when you're a Manchester United striker, young, getting service or not, you cannot go 17 games without a goal. You can't. that's criminal. So we know that the Man United coaches, Ruben Amorim's team, they're not particularly convinced by Højlund. Do you know what? I'll tell you something about Højlund, because I spoke to someone about this. I actually spoke to some sources about this. Rasmus Højlund is viewed higher by the hierarchy than he is by Ruben Amorim. The problem is Ruben Amorim is the head coach. The hierarchy will ultimately make the decisions when it comes to recruitment. But I was speaking to someone about this, and they said Ruben Amorim and the coaches not convinced by Højlund, but the hierarchy still believe he's got potential. And that's the problem. The people at the top of Man United believe in Højlund, believe he's got potential. Ruben Amorim's not going to say he doesn't believe in Højlund. He's always in about Højlund publicly. But apparently, behind the scenes, Ruben Amorim, the coaches, they're not sure. They think they want him replaced, which makes sense. Whereas Ineos sort of wants someone to come in alongside him and believe that he can still become good. That's the situation with Højlund, And I also think because his book value is still 38 million, Ineos are not going to sell Højlund unless they can get 40 million for him. And yes, there's interest from Italian clubs in Højlund, but do we know how much they'd be willing to pay? And also, it's Man United, so they're going to see if they can get that player cheaper. You've got to look at it in that sense as well. Every season, Højlund's losing 15 million of value. Sell him ASAP, the starting striker in the league. 2 years is enough chance. Well, he was good in his first season, enough reason to back him. But this season, he's just completely crashed in that sense. We need a striker. We can't sell Rasmus because we can't sell him for a PSR loss. So we need to hope that someone is willing to see that potential and pay 40 million for him. Which maybe with his wages, they're more likely to pay a larger fee for him because he will agree to lower wages. His agent is out looking for a move according to reports, and his agent has been seen at Carrington, which is something he doesn't normally do. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, let's continue into more news. So this was said by MUFC MPB. So go give them a follow on Twitter, and they also, I believe, have a YouTube channel. They are very good when it comes to finding sources from South America, Turkey, outside of the main ones that we know. And sometimes the sources they find are just absolute waffle merchants. And sometimes they find a source that says a story, like the Diego Leon story. Then 3 days later, all the Man United journalists are saying we're going for Diego Leon. They're very good at picking up stories before everyone else. Now, they said there are 3 different journalists in Turkey that Victor Osimhen has agreed terms with, saying 3 different journalists in Turkey saying that Victor Osimhen. What am I doing? Victor Osimhen has agreed terms with Manchester United and will sign for the club in the summer. So last night, it was claimed Osimhen has agreed to join United this summer. No agreement yet between United and Napoli. Today, it was said Osimhen will sign a 5-year contract with United. Transfer fee will be 60 million euros. Contract net worth is 12.8 million a year. 12.8 mil divided by 52. Let me actually think what that could be a week. That's about 250k a week. I think United don't want to give him more than 200k a week. And other reports said that Osimhen will sign for United. So what we've got here is 3 sources in Turkey saying that Victor Osimhen has agreed to join United. United have agreed to deal with Osimhen. It's a 5-year deal. Terms are agreed. There's an agreement there. And that's been said by multiple sources in Turkey. That doesn't mean a deal is done. That doesn't mean a deal will be done, because for a deal to be done, not only do we need an agreement with Osimhen, but we need an agreement with Napoli, bish, bash, bosh. You know what I mean. But I've got 2 thoughts on this. Victor Osimhen's agent is a big talker. He's trying to find them a big deal. 3 sources in Turkey coming out saying the same thing. Good indication, right? You think good indication, But I wonder if this has been fed by Osimhen's agent. I do think a lot of this Osimhen news is agent-driven. I think Victor Osimhen wants fat wages, and I think he wants Saudi, and I think he wants fat wages from Saudi. So I think they're saying he's agreed to deal with Man United. They're going to give him 250k a week. For me, when an agent puts out a story that their player is agreed or close to agreeing a story with this club, and it's often Man United used, and that we're going to give them 250k a week, a lot of the time it is made up by the player's agent, because actually he wants, Al Ittihad, and Al Ittihad maybe offered him 200k a week, and now they're going to say and tell loads of journalists that actually United offered him 250k a week. So Al Ittihad get worried he could go to Manchester United because we're going to have more pull than Saudi in that sense, and then they go and offer him 250k a week. That's my stance. Victor Osimhen's agent is going to get him the highest money move, the highest wage move, and I do worry, are United being used? There's a lot of news coming out today and yesterday and the day before that Victor Osimhen's agreed to join United, because there's so much news coming out about it. Then there's got to be something in this. These journalists haven't made this up. They've heard this from somewhere. But a lot of agents do make up lies, and journalists go put that out because they think it can get their player a better deal. So I hope that Victor Osimhen's agreed terms with Man United, and I hope he's agreed a 5-year deal with Man United. But no sources on Man United's end have confirmed this. Only sources on Victor Osimhen's end and Victor Osimhen's agent's end have said this to, I presume, Turkish sources, which says to me it could be an agent, yet again, using Manchester United to get their client what they believe is the best wage move. That's my fear of it. If Fabrizio Romano comes out and says, look, it's been agreed, Laurie Whitwell, David Ornstein, I'm excited. But I just think, for me, I can't believe it yet. I want to believe it, but I think we're being used by the agent. Also, this doesn't mean it's done. If he has agreed terms with us, great, but we still have to agree a deal with Napoli. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But for me, I feel like he's probably going to go to Saudi. Victor Osimhen. Agents are greedy. Well, that's what I worry. It's being reported that there's an agreement there. It's been reported this and that. So that's what the reports are. There's 4 or 5, 6 reports out there. 3 in Turkey saying Man United have agreed a deal with Victor Osimhen. They've agreed personal terms, this and that. So it's been reported. I hope it's true, but I don't trust Turkish media, to be honest. They said that Turkey said last summer that we 30 to Man United was agreed, and it never was agreed. We get used. That's the one thing that worries me. I mean, but you never know. Like with Ineos, they're desperate for a striker. It's very clear we need a new striker. Osimhen ticks all the boxes. You never know. Ineos could be behind the scenes working on a deal now because they know he's going to leave Napoli. They could be doing something. This could be true. They could be behind the scenes working on a deal, but they want to keep it hush-hush. Chelsea went and signed Kenda out of nowhere when we thought we were going to get Kenda. You just don't know. You don't know. They could be behind the scenes. They could be working on something. It's sort of one of those as well. We probably won't hit anything officially until June, yeah. So maybe we are working on it, but we're trying to keep it hush-hush. It's one of those, to be honest. But anyway, let's continue on into more news in regards to the strikers. Rasmus Højlund's agents are doing work on potential options to leave the club this summer, with Italy seen as a good solution for the former Atalanta striker, was said by Graham Bailey. We also know from United insiders who said to me privately that apparently Højlund's agent had been at Carrington. They didn't tell me what they meant. They just said, just to let you know, Højlund's agent has been at Carrington recently. He doesn't normally come to Carrington. That doesn't mean that Højlund's going. That doesn't mean that anything's happening. But they just said, interesting that Højlund's agent has been at Carrington when he doesn't really come to Carrington. So that, me being told that the same week that this story came out, there's probably Højlund's agent looking around. And that makes sense. When you've scored about 1 goal in your last 25, 26 games for Manchester United, of course, and you're a striker, of course you're going to be looking for a new club, a new environment. Of course you are. So it makes sense in that way. Do you think Chelsea will buy Sancho? Last 3 games, Sancho's been a lot better for Chelsea, so fingers crossed they do. This is what Romano said on Højlund last week. Serie A clubs are monitoring Højlund's situation ahead of the summer window. If Manchester United decide to sell Højlund to bring in a new striker in the summer, the Italian club would be ready for concrete contracts. Romano is saying that United actually haven't decided yet if they're going to sell Højlund. So interestingly, Romano has said, there's clubs interested in Højlund, but apparently Man United haven't made a decision if they're going to sell Højlund, which brings it back to what I said earlier. Man United coaches and Ruben Amorim open to selling Højlund. People at Ineos still believe there's a player there with a lot of potential. It sort of brings it back to that sense when it comes to potentially selling Højlund. This and that. I also think that Man United, when it comes to selling Højlund, massively depends on the fee. It massively depends on the fee that they're going to get if they sell Rasmus Højlund. Because they can't get less than 38 million for him because it will be a loss in regards to PSR and his book value. So that's also a big thing as well. Alice, would you give more time to Rasmus? if Højlund was showing what he showed in his first season with his dribbling, his hold up was better, his movement was better, yes. If Rasmus had, I don't know, 10 Premier League goals this season and he was making the most of situations and he was holding up play well, I would. Because in Rasmus's first season, I think he got 10 league goals or 9 league goals. I think he got 16 goals in total with limited service and was good at running the wide channels, had decent link-up play and showed signs. This season, there's just nothing that's going well for him, like not one single thing. Even his shooting has been more wasteful. So in regards to Rasmus Højlund, I would say no. I think I've seen enough of him. If we see signs from Rasmus Højlund between now and the end of the season, and let's say Rasmus Højlund scores 9 goals in his next 7 games and he looks really good and electric, yeah, my thoughts can change. But right now, I don't think Rasmus Højlund is going to change how he's playing between now and the end of the season. Xerxes has made so much more of a difference than Højlund when he's come on, and Xerxes was getting booed at the start of the season. So for me, I saw something Rasmus from his first year. I've seen nothing this season. I've seen regression. And at Man United in your second season, if you are regressing, it doesn't matter how young you are, doesn't matter how little service you are. If we are 14th, 15th place, it is a problem. And I think he'll do well in Italy. Maybe a loan. I'm open to a loan. I don't think Rasmus Højlund will get back on track at Manchester United. I don't think he gets back on track at Manchester United. But I do think he could go to a club in Italy and do well. But I don't think he's going to do it at Manchester United. Potentially he goes on loan, he gets his confidence up, he does well, he could maybe make it at Man United. But I personally, and I don't like to be negative, I just don't see him turning around at Man United. He looks too lost. I think for his own good, he needs to go, if I was going to be completely honest. Would you swap Rasmus Højlund with any strikers in the Premier League? Yes, I would, but I don't think other Premier League clubs would agree with that. How much would you sell Højlund for? 40 million, because that's what we need for the book value. I mean, I would try and push for 50 million, but we've got to be realistic. He's got 3 Premier League goals. I know it's playing for Man United, and a lot of players leave Man United and they look good, but you've got to be honest. Kaz says Højlund was no different. Oh, go check out Kaz's channel, by the way. He's getting back on the United content, so go give him a subscribe. But yeah, for me, as someone that is quite positive and likes to get behind players, I've given up on Højlund. I think for his own good, he needs to leave. I don't see him turning it around. There's some players I think can turn it around when they're bad. And, Rashford, one I've always backed. I always think he can turn it around because he's done that before. But Højlund, I just think if he was going to turn it around, he has to do it outside of Man United. But yeah, let's continue on into some more news and stories. United have maintained contact with the agent of Benjamin Sesko, said Samuel Luckhurst, and he also said it's unclear if United would have the budget to finance the deal for Osimhen, which again, going back to what was said on Victor Osimhen, I think it is agent rumours saying that the deal was agreed. They say, every time we've been told a player's agreed to join United and this is their wages, and their wages are very, very high, I always feel it's an agent story to try and make out that Man United have offered him these amount of wages to try and get Saudi to offer him what he wants. But he said we like Sesko. What I do know about Sesko is Arsenal have interest in there. It would be interesting to see now Andrea Berta's in if Arsenal's transfer plans change, because obviously under Edu, Sesko was the striker that they wanted. They've now got Berta in, so it'll be interesting to see if they potentially want Victor Gyökeres now, and they've been linked with. But I've always felt that Sesko was going to go to Arsenal. But we've always had interest in Sesko. Obviously, Rivel's got the RB links as well. We liked Sesko, years ago. Yeah. Kaz makes a point here. By the way, Samuel Luckhurst changes his mind on United's budget every 2 minutes. Zero credibility. Notice how journos change their tune and people forget previous words. Samuel Luckhurst is very inconsistent. I think he basically is a bit of a mouthpiece for United sometimes, because I think he's a United journalist, where United, every summer, they like to say our transfer budget is £50 million, when we know it's £150 million. So there's 3 or 4 journalists, including Luckhurst, that will put out that United's budget's £50 million, because United want them to put out that to try and look poor to other clubs. And if other clubs think we don't have much money, they hope that, they won't be asking 80 million for their player because we only have 50 million. United every summer like to say, oh, we've only got this amount of money or that amount of money, so we can't pay this amount for that player, and then we end up going and overpaying for that player. But there's like 4 or 5 journalists that they definitely get some kind of brief from the club, where they'll put out sort of, I think, PR-based reports or reports that the club want out. For me, the best sources are Romano, even though he's quite repetitive, Ornstein and Laurie Whitwell when it comes to inside information. There's journalists like Simon Stones that I think is a Wolves fan, but he's quite credible. But yeah, Luckhurst is very hit and miss. He's got sources, but I also think he's a little bit agenda driven. If he doesn't like a player, he's going to write a piece on that player if he doesn't like them, whether it's true or not. But let's continue on. Reluctant Nico has said that Amarim wants Eze as a key signing for United this summer. He's hopeful of the club winning the race. I like Eze. I think he's a bit overrated, which people might disagree with me on that. I like him, but I don't think he's been that great this season for Crystal Palace. He's been a lot better the second half of the season, but he went missing the first half of the season when Crystal Palace weren't particularly good. And I think at Manchester United, if we're not good and you go missing, that's not a good sign. I prefer Cunha for left hand than Eze. Wolves were crap at the start of the season. Cunha showed up. Palace were crap at the start of the season. Eze went missing. Eze's good. Eze's class. Not going to say no to Eze at all. But Cunha would be... I prefer Cunha at left hand. Cunha number 1, Xavi Simons number 2, Eze number 3. Eze, good deal, depending on the fee. If we're paying 60+ million for Eze when he's 27, I wouldn't do it. But, at least he's always been the far better player. I'm happy Eze improves this team, no doubt in my mind. But I do think there's better options. And I think if you can get Eze for 40 million quid, decent. But I think he goes missing at times. Alice, how much will Victor Osimhen cost? I think about 50 to 60 million. I think with Napoli's desperation to sell, you could get it for 50 million. People say Cherky's better than Eze. I think he prefers to play on the right. I do like Cherky. I do like him. He's 25 million. You have to look at that. Surely you have to look at that. Yeah. We got everybody in the live chat. We got everybody for tuning in. The last story is on Alejandro Garnacho. Garnacho is Antonio Conte's number 1 target from Napoli. Conte wants him whatever the cost and expects to have him next season, is being reported. Again, take with a pinch of salt, a lot of the sources, but Napoli do like Garnacho. They are interested in Garnacho. They went from last summer. United were like, we're sold Rashford, we sold, well, not sold, loaned Rashford, loaned Anthony, didn't get replacements in. They were open to offloading Garnacho, but then they panicked. They were like, no, we can't. I think United will listen to offers for Garnacho in the summer. I don't think they're desperate to sell Garnacho, but I think if they can get 60 million, they'll consider it. They're not going to offload him for 40 million. They're probably not going to offload him for 50 million, maybe 50 million, including add-ons. I think United, if they can get 60 million, they do it. But I think it depends on the fee. They're not desperate to do it, but they know that with him being homegrown, it raises a significant chunk of funds, which they could invest in a better player. That's what I think will happen with Garnacho. I think Napoli will go back in for him. Chelsea also interested because he's a youngster. But yeah. We'll have to see. But yeah, big up everybody for tuning into today's live show. Please do smash a like and hit that subscribe button on the way out. Yeah, go over to Never a Foul and show them some love. I'm going to redirect you now. Thanks everyone for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.